The purpose of this video is to show you how to use video analysis in LoggerPro on the PC or Mac. Video analysis is a way of analyzing the physics of videos. What we do is we can measure the motion of objects and deduce certain information from that motion. So what you'll first need to do is open up LoggerPro, and in order to import the movie or video that you want to analyze, you go to Insert and then you click Movie. And then you browse for the location on your computer where you've stored the movie. I've already done this, so I've brought up a video of a cart, and that cart you can see moves back and forth across the screen. Now, if at this point you have a blank white or a blank black screen, that means one of two things. Either you've tried to import a movie which is not a supported movie type. LoggerPro uses QuickTime to play its movies, so Apple files are typically supported. Or there's an issue with the codec. For whatever reason, sometimes devices will record and the codec that's needed isn't installed on your computer. But if all goes well, you'll end up with a video here. Now, in order to start analyzing the video, what I do is I queue up the video to the point in the video where the motion actually begins. So I'm going to start analyzing after my finger comes off the cart. And so I'm going frame by frame by clicking these two buttons in my control panel here, and I can see now that my finger is separate from my cart. So now the video is queued up. I'm going to click this little arrow to the right, which brings up several options. There are three options that I need to deal with here. The first is set the scale. When I click on that, now I have crosshairs, and I know that the length of this track, which is in the plane of the motion, the length of that track is 1.2 meters. Now, I just clicked and dragged over that length. Certainly, you can click and drag over any object, but the larger the object in general, the less error you're going to have. For instance, if I try to analyze the thickness of my finger and tell LoggerPro that that's about 1.5 centimeters, there's a greater likelihood that that is not quite 1.5 centimeters, and so the percent error will be a lot larger than if I tell LoggerPro that the length of this track is 1.2 meters, but it's really 1.21 meters, for instance. Okay. So now that I've set the scale, I've told LoggerPro exactly how big objects are in the video and how large the gaps from left to right and up and down in the video are. I'm going to set my origin now. Now you can set your origin anywhere you want. I'm going to set mine, for whatever reason, at the front of this cart. And if I need to, I can play around with the angle of those axes. In this case, it looks like I have a pretty flat track anyway, so I don't need to play around with much. And then the last thing I'm going to click on is Add Point. That's my third option. And now I'm going to decide which object I'm analyzing. It's going to be the green cart, and which area on that object I want to analyze. Now I'm going to try to analyze, let's say, the front of the cart. And so I'm going to click my first point. As soon as I click, the video advances by one frame. Alright, and so I can click on that same point on the cart again, and as it keeps advancing, I'm just going to keep doing the best I can to click on that same point on the cart so that I'm essentially analyzing the motion. Now, in cases where an object is moving very slowly, or your frame rate was very high, and so this object isn't moving very far, and I'm getting a lot of data points, and it's going to take me forever to analyze the entire motion. Instead of clicking and taking a data point at every frame, I can manually advance, say, 2 additional frames in between each point. And so I'm going 3 frames for each data point in total. And what that does is it speeds up the process a little bit. I'm sacrificing data points here, but I'm speeding up my analysis, and in many cases those extra frames are not going to be that beneficial. So let's say here I've ended my analysis of this video. So if I click behind the video, what I notice is a graph has shown up, and it tells me it's plotting X position in red and Y position in blue as a function of time. In this case, there's really no reason to look at the Y position because my object isn't moving up and down. So I'm going to click on those axes. I'm going to tell it I just want the X position as a function of time. Now I can go into my axes options. I can set the scale. So I'm looking at the entire graph appropriately. I can also choose to highlight, do a linear fit or a curve fit, take statistics on those data points. I can do all the things that LoggerPro would allow me to do if I use, say, a motion detector or if I just manually input my points. And so that's how you use video analysis on LoggerPro.